Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, everyone. Okay, so we are gonna just continue what you have been doing before Al-Asr. Alright, so in the previous video, which is just for me a couple 1.5 hours ago, I guess. So we have so let's just open the file. So we have created these functions, this handle buttons function and the get students, create, delete, update student function, and we have of course fill the table. Okay, so get student is not defined. That's an error, which means get student self. Oh, that's a mistake. This is self dot get student self update student self create student and self delete student. So if you have figured it out before, you are, I'm not gonna say smart, but you definitely kind of know your basics. Alright, let's go back and let's work with it. Alright, so we have, okay, where is the we don't see no table title. Alright, so let's open the designer main UI. This is a problem that enabled. What is this, man? What is the why don't I see the table? We have it right here. Okay, this title thing has been disabled somewhere. I'm sure of that. So let's just look for it. Table tracking to tip translatable access name and scrolling. Drag enabled. Okay. Alternative rows found. Show grid sorting. Word wrap. What is this? Row count, column count. We have 4 columns. Okay, so we have horizontal header visible. Yes, we figured it out. Okay. All of these properties are editable, so you can just make sure you have that. Next thing, we have this stretch last section, visible header, vertical header visible, vertical header cascade style. Okay. Vertical header stretch last section. It's not necessary, but we have figured out what you came here for to see. And let's open our application again. Here we go. First name, last name, birth date, enrollment number. Now we need to give it an ID or a student ID like this, and hit this button, and these fields automatically fill in with the right information. Okay. Alright, so let's do that. Or should we start with the create student first, or this one? I mean, if we go with the create students first, you need to check whether the student was already there, and then you need to check for okay, duplicated information. Okay, you know what, let's just start with the get student. Or let's start with the delete. Yes, that's it. That's an easy one. So if we open the index.py and go for delete student, first of all, you need always to create a query first. I mean, this is my method. Okay, now we are in the part where everybody chooses his own way of doing things. So first of all, I try to make the query. So delete from students, delete from student where student ID is equal to %s. Alright, so here the query is clear. So we are gonna delete where the student is this number, and the data of course is the student ID. We have this column here because we have a tuple, or we need a tuple. If it doesn't exist, just a variable. But if you notice, the student ID doesn't exist yet, so we need to have a variable up here somewhere where we get student ID. And where do we get this from? Like I've said before, okay, our application is not up and running. We get the student ID from here. We hit this get thing and the student fills in the information, or if we hit delete, the student gets deleted. So we need to read this field right here, and in order for you to read something or to use a field from Mysql, you need to know its name. Alright, okay, so let's see line edit number 4. Okay, let's just rename all of these things. We already named the buttons. Now we only have this line edits to check. Now we have this line edit for what? Student ID. That's clear. And we have line edit first name, line edit last name. Yeah, this one has been named before. Yeah, line edit last name and line edit birth date. Let's make sure we have no typo. Alright, we have that covered. Line edit first name, line edit student ID. Okay, we are good to go. Close this one, and there we go. Now let's move on to the code. So we have this variable, and what we need to do is dot self dot what's the name of that? So line edit student ID dot text. So we get the text from that field, and let's just print this. Print student ID, just to see the kind of things that you get from these fields. So yeah, this returns a string, by the way, and if you want to see what it returns, always, or the type of the thing that it returns, always use the type and do this kind of thing. Python 3. Are we connected? Yeah, we connected the button early on. Okay, and let's write something here. Delete. So if we hit delete, if we click it, bunch of times, it always returns the thing that it has, and it returns the type of that thing, which is string. It always returns a string, and it's not the field, but it's the text function. We have called the text function upon this self.line_edit. We can't do that in here, so okay, yeah, so we just have to delete this. So the data is what goes with this query. Now in order for us to execute this, we need to go self cursor execute the query and the data. And if you want to just give it the field, you just have to do it the same way, student ID, and give it the tuple in here as a second argument. But for clarity, we are using a variable because this is Python and it's meant to be simple and easy. So we have executed. Now this self cursor execute query or line will execute this line, but it will not commit the changes to the database, so you need another line, self.connection.commit is what you need. And by the way, there is another thing or another way, if you are aware of what is called the context manager, you can do with self cursor execute, but we are not gonna use a context manager because we are doing this the step-by-step way until you become somewhat of an intermediate or advanced programmer and you can handle that sort of things. So now we are just gonna make it simple. So let's try this. Let's try and see if this works. Let's go and open our application. Let's try to delete the second student. Hit delete. It's still there. Why is it still there? Let's rerun our application and let's see if it's still there. It's not. But here's a question. Why didn't it disappear the first time that we deleted it basically? Because here when we start the application, it's the constructor that calls this function. What function? This function. Okay, the constructor here calls this function, get students. So you have to wait until you restart the application in order for you to see the changes in this case, but we don't want that. So let's just say that there is a trick to this, or actually I method just to do this kind of thing, which is update the table student or the student table. Okay, so there is self dot get students is the function's name. Yeah, get students. So now if you delete a student, it should be there, it should get updated. Okay, we have one last student, which is this one. There you go, and there you go, it disappeared. So as the table's title. That should not happen. Okay, so yeah, that's it, it worked. Now let's move on to add some other students. So let's move to create. Alright, so yes, let's open the index of thing and let's see what gets tuned. Okay, where is create student? Okay, create student. So like I've said before, let's create the query. I'm using the query variable everywhere, like you see, query here, because it's a local variable, so this function doesn't have access to other functions, and even if it does, theoretically we are redefining it here, so we are, yeah, just forget about it. You can't access it because it's a local variable, but it's a if it was a global variable, you are redefining it here. It's like overwriting it. Yeah, it's overwriting it. So query create a 3-quoted string is what they call this, I guess. So let's just create, no, insert into student. What type of data? First name, last name, birth date, values, or value, no, values. Yeah, I guess this is the thing. And data. So data, we need to have a tuple of first name, last name, and what? First name, last name, and birth date. So like right now you kind of see the kind of pattern that we are gonna be working on with by now on, from now on. So you kind of create the query, create the data that goes with it, and call the self cursor execute on that. But if you are smart enough to notice that these first name, last name, birth date are just other local variables and they don't exist, so we still need to define them. Okay, so self cursor execute query and the data, and like I've said, self cursor or connection is what we're going to use. Commit to commit the changes, and call update the table for student table again by calling the self cursor or self get students, because this is the function that does that. Where is it? Yeah, get students. That's the one that updates the table. And if you do not know how that works, take a simple pen and paper and explain it to yourself. Just go ahead and write what every function does in this program, and how do you think they relate to each other, and how do you think the program works. And go ahead and execute the program and write down what each function or each button does when you click it, and what function does that in the program that you just wrote. That's a good way to do it. By the way, if you are a beginner, you are gonna learn everything so much faster. So we are in the create student, so we need the first name, last name, and birth date. And like I've said, you need to define these variables. So first name is equal to self line edit is the line edit that you have found name before we have done that today. So last name is equal to line edit. This is the one that we have edited just right now. Last name dot text, and birth date is equal to self line edit birth date. This is just some repetitive stuff, so you understand the program well enough. So this is actually the most, it's like the it's not the basics of each program, but it's everything that happens in a PyQt5 program. You have learned so far everything you need. You just call a function, handle buttons, etc. All of those packages, context managers, and all those complicated stuff are just like we Moroccans say, okay? So it's like salt on, yeah, on food. Okay, so those other stuff are just like it's not important details, but they are important for you to implement something that you want. But in order for you to just understand how a PyQt5 application works, this is all you need, and how that connects to a database and etc. So what we need to do next is test if this works. Right? Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Let's have this. So you can print these fields again if you want, but I'm not gonna do that. So let's have Muhammad in here. Let's hit create. Let's see, and it has been created. So Muhammad is show. This is the date, and this is the enrollment number, but the title again of the table is not here, there. Okay, so we really need to fix this. It kind of bothers me. So it's not there again. Horizontal header visible. Man, save this. What about now? Okay, it's there. So Muhammad is show. This is the birth date, and this is the enrollment number. It's the third number because we have already created, you know, that auto increment in the table of the database when we created it. It's the one responsible for giving us this number, like I've said, and it's now telling us that this is the third student that this database have received. Not this application, but this database. You need to understand that. You really need to understand that. And this number I do not want here. So let's just go back to the designer. Let's just hope it's there. I really don't want to. Yeah, okay. Horizontal, okay. Like something. Row count, corner button enabled. It's not corner button, but something that counts those. Drag enabled. Show drop indicator. Corner button enabled. Row count. Auto scroll, auto key navigation, show drop enable drag. Okay. Horizontal. Okay. Translatable. Kerning. Okay, I'm gonna, yeah, I already did that before, so I'm just gonna copy it from one of my source codes, and I'm gonna tell you how to do that. Yeah, because it's just a level of googling. Actually, it's nothing important to bother yourself with, but it's good to have. I just don't want that to have to appear like that in my application. So I have the first name, so let's just test if the delete is working again. Let's do the third, or let's give it a number that doesn't exist. Let's have delete. Okay, let's have 7. Let's have the third, and there you go, the student is gone. So let's delete this. And by the way, let's have the delete function clear these fields as soon as you hit some function. So let's go to the code again, and let's have a function or a method, because this is a class method or a function in a class that's called a method. Let's call this clear fields. I love these functions, they take a lot of work from me. So let's do self.line edit student ID dot clear I mean, yes, let's just leave it. So let's line edit last name here. So if you kind of wondering how did I remember this kind of stuff, the syntax of these things, you're gonna just find that out by the end of this course. You're gonna yourself memorize more than this. So line edit student clear, first name last name. Yeah, we lack one, and that is the birthday. Okay. So we can call that self clear fields here, but here we only need to do clear one thing. We need to do line edit clear. Yeah, let's just do clear fields for now. So let's have this line after each function that we have created so far. So create student should do the same thing. Handle buttons, no. But yeah, the constructor already does that. What's this function? This is, yeah, it has that. Delete has that. Update. We can call that and remove the pass. Get students, connect, yeah, that's everything. Create student, clear fields, and no need to showcase, or yeah, no need to showcase what it does. You're gonna figure it out. Let's just do another thing. Let's have the update student function ready to go as well, and let's have that query. Yeah, let's start with the query again. So we are to update student set first name is equal to this, last name is equal to this. This is how you update something from a table. So student, yeah, first name, last name, and the birth date is equal to this as well. Second thing, we need the data, and this is a tuple. So first name, as always, last name, birth date. Of course, because you already have these fields, you are just gonna have to do this. And you might be wondering, why didn't I just have the self here and call that from the from this function? So for example, when I created this in the create student, why didn't I just have this here and call those from there? Oh, I just figured out something. I could have done a function. I could have called those. I could have defined those in the under init. So let's just work with them like this. Let's do self first name is equal to, yeah, let's just copy paste them in here. All right. I really want to try this and how it will affect my program. Def create. Let's variables or vars. Let's start to do that. And let's call it here. Create vars or class vars. class was. So each variable that needs to be, for example, used a lot of times in my program is gonna have the self and the self, so I can call it from anywhere in my program and I don't have to do self line edit first name text and something like that. And I can even do something like this, first name, but because this is a tutorial I still have to do those lines, those long lines. So first name, yeah. So here I can delete those from here and I can just do self first name, self last name, and self birthday. Okay, and if you are wondering that could I just have the same thing for the queries and make them all up in one function, of course you can do that, and we are gonna do that in some video just to let you know how these class variables work. The same thing here, first name, okay, I figured something. No. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the thing is the constructor is called only once. So whenever we need to call that function before we use those variables because they are only defined from the constructor. Yeah, more trouble. So yeah, okay, I just messed it up. You know what, let's just delete this and let's use the boring things. Oh, I need to define them here. Okay, so create student needs them. Okay, I am never gonna try to be smart again. Okay, actually, yeah, my grandpa said the same thing. You know, he said that my problem is that I tend to be way smarter than usual, and this is what happens. So it's like rushing. You know what? Just forget about it. Did I delete those here? I didn't, so let's just copy them again. And we know we need those in the create. We already have those in create. And we need those in where in the update. I hope this is the last thing. Yeah, it is. And we need to delete these things. Self first name, self last name. Yeah, Latif. And this is not self again. This is just, we are just regular variables. We are trying to be humble here. Alright. Yeah. I hope you are not following with the tutorial as well. You're really up for a mess. So here everything's good. Here we need to delete the self. They are local variables. They are humble. I mean, we are not trying to make any mess in here anymore. So let's just delete all of this. And I'm sorry, by the way, for not editing the video. You have to watch all of this, but my computer and its capabilities disagree with me editing the videos, so that's another thing, and that's exactly why we are using one of these Vim editors. Okay, so self cursor execute query data, but it's enough for us to learn coding and practice it as well. So let's go. I think we have done everything but delete this function. Do you think this still works? So first name, last name, create, delete, update a student. So updating a student is another thing. So let's come back to this update student. First set, okay. So we need to do where student ID is equal to S, and here we need to have student ID. And here we need to have student as ID as well. So student ID is equal to self line edit student ID dot text. Okay, yeah, so yeah, Latif, how long have you been? 36 minutes. He's the best. Okay, so we have the student ID, the first name, last name, birth date, where student ID is equal to this. We have everything, but we do not have the self.cursor.execute the query and the with the data and self.connection.commit. Alright, this is everything. Let's see what kind of errors are waiting for us. First of all, there is nothing in the database. Let's see if we can create a student. So let's call this Muhammad Isho. Let's do create. Everything disappears. Exactly. It's the fourth student. Let's have this as 4. And let's do the get first, because the update you have to re-enter everything again. You are gonna know what I am trying to say after we do the get function. So there is an empty function here, get student, and by that we mean we need a query, ladies and gentlemen. So select first name. Okay, so first name, we don't need no parentheses. First name, last name, birth date, from student, where student ID is equal to S or D. Yeah, C really messed me up. Query, we need the data, of course, the first name. No, we are just selecting, we are not updating anything. Okay, so what we need to do here is self execute the query. Yes, we need the data. Yes, we need the data, and the data is equal to student ID. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. Student ID, and the thing here is that we are gonna need another query, I guess. No. Okay, so select first name, last name, birth ID from student, where student ID is equal to student ID. We need student ID, which is just student ID is equal to self line edit student ID dot text. This returns a string, which is okay. That's what we want. Self cursor, we do not need no self commit, because we are not committing anything. We need to get the data from the database, so we need to have student, because this is one student that we are importing. We need to do self cursor fetch 1, because this is, like I've said, one student. And in order for me to show you what that looks like, we need to print it again. God bless the print function, right? Alright. Okay, so let's start our application. Give it a number. No, there is no 1, so there is 4. There is 4. Let's get, by the way, if you have this with a number that doesn't exist, you are up for an error. And if you do update, that's more errors. So Muhammad issue date time, yeah, that's the birth date. Don't worry about this representation, you are not concerned about this. So Muhammad issue, okay. So what was I trying to figure out here? That the get function is working. Alright, so the get function is working. Yeah, we need to fill in these things with the data that we got here. So the yes. So print student returns this line, and this thing if the ID that you gave it doesn't exist on the database. So we know student as that. So Muhammad issue, this is the date of his birthday. Yeah, this is his birth date. Alright. So it returns a tuple, and if we do fetch 1, yeah, fetch 1 returns a tuple, fetch all returns a list of tuples. That makes sense? Yes, it does to me. I don't care about you. Actually, I do. That's why I'm doing this. Okay, you know what? Okay, yeah, Mr. Bus, just wait and you'll get your pass. Okay, so we have print student. علاش الطوبيس ما تيوصلش في الوقت. كاين السفيقة في شي بلاصة وحابسة الوقت. أودي عارفنا. Yeah, we need. Okay, so what's happening is that the bus is having trouble passing this area because this is there is a souk here. Yeah, we are always filming on Wednesdays these tutorials like this. So student, we are printing student, and what do we need to do here? We are gonna use this information to fill in those areas that we have in our application, and in order for us to do that, we need to remove first of all this line. We need to do self line edit first name set text past there. Remember, string of what? Of student index of 0, and I just need to self line edit last name, that's last name, and this is birthday, and this is the second index, that's 1, this is the third index -1, because the index that we start from in programming is 0. Alright, you got that? You do. And we have a typo, we have some sort of, yeah, because we are calling the string function, and that's its own parentheses, and there you go. We forget a bracket here. So there is a bracket, a parenthesis to close the string function, and another one for the set text function. Alright, so we have line edit first name, last name, birth date to get the data. Yeah, that's enough. And by the way, what do I mean by student index of 0? You need to print when we printed student, so we just do print student and let's print what student 0 returns, and there you can figure out the rest for your own self. Let's do for, let's do get, and there you go, all of this I've filled in, and there you go, Muhammad is the first thing that is in this tuple. And there you go, the get function is done. So now we can test if the update function is working. So for get the data, we can change this I to be, let's just say issue is here, my friend. Update, yes, finally an error. Okay, so there is, you have an error in your syntax. Check the module that corresponds to your, okay, I got you, my friend. So we have an error in our SQL syntax in our update student function. So update student set first name, last name, birth date, where student ID is equal to this. We have the student ID, we have the first name, the last name, the birth date, and the student ID. We have no error before that, right? Yes, we do not. So the data, serve cursor, execute query data, connection commit. So I cannot see where the error is, but it's 46 minutes already, so we are gonna just have enough for this video. So until the next video, inshallah, until we figure it out. We're gonna figure it out in the next video, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.